I now request Rajan Chandy to make his presentation on transformation of self and society. Rajan teaches in a Krishnamurti school located in rural Andhra Pradesh called Rishi Valley School.
I'm very happy to be here, and I must thank Geshe Lakdola and Bryce for inviting me. I'm not very clear why I was invited to talk to you, because I'm not really a scholar. I have studied Western philosophy for a period of time in Germany, but I never did my PhD. I got interested in Indian thought and Buddhism there, and today I would consider myself a follower of the Buddha. Whether I deserve to be called a follower of a Buddha is for me a moot question. I'm not sure I qualify for that. And I'm here in the presence of monks who are far more studied and realized in the subject than I am. Therefore, it's not very clear. I don't have many credentials. But nevertheless, since I'm here, I thought I'd talk to you about Gandhi ji. Why I chose Gandhi ji is because I didn't want to talk directly about Buddhism in the presence of monks. And I'm not talking about Gandhi per se. I'm going to pick up one of his ideas which I think are very relevant to the whole theme of this seminar, which is the transformation of emotions and the transformation of society. That's how I read it. So I'm going to talk to you about Gandhiji's notion of trusteeship. Now, I'll explain in a moment what trusteeship is. In fact, it is the only notion that Gandhi took from the Western tradition. If you look at all his other ideas, like ahimsa, satya, and so on, all these are directly from the Indian tradition. But the idea of trusteeship he took from English common law. Now, what is a trustee, or who is a trustee? Supposing I know I'm going to die soon, I have some terminal illness, I have cancer or something, and I have young children, I'm worried about them, I don't know what will happen to them, I have quite a lot of property, then I can choose a friend, somebody who I trust, and appoint him as a trustee of my property. That means after I die, he will look after my property, but he will not use it for himself. He will use it for the sake of my children. Now, in English common law, you could actually legally write up such a document, making somebody a trustee. Gandhi was deeply impressed by this idea. He was a trained lawyer, he had studied in England, but like everything, he took it, deepened it, and transformed it. And he said that actually we should all live as if we were trustees. Why should we live as if we were trustees? Because he said, actually speaking, nothing belongs to us. Not just our property, our houses and so on, but even our minds, our intelligence, our capacities. We may be good sportsmen, we may be skilled at other things. None of these capacities are our own. They are not really ours. Now, why did he say they are not really ours? Here he fell back on an ancient Indian notion, which is there in various sects of Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and so on, which is that if something is really yours, you can never be separated from it. If you can be separated from that thing, it is not really yours. So he asked, what is it that you think is really yours? Your property, obviously, you can be separated from. Thieves may steal it. The government may take it away. It may burn down if you have a house. But you may think, okay, those are external things, but my mind, my intelligence, who can take that away from me? But if you think of it, I may be a very intelligent person. I may be an Einstein or whoever, or a great chess player. Tomorrow I have a stroke and I suffer some brain damage. This is gone. Likewise, my relations, my loved ones, nothing really belongs to me, because everything can be separated. I can be separated from all these things even before I die. But even if I'm not separated from them during my life, I will definitely be separated from them at the time of death. When I die, none of these things will come with me. Not even this body, which I take so much care of and look after. I comb my hair, I put oil, I put shampoo, I do this. Nowadays people do all kinds of plastic surgery to improve the way they look, liposuction, etc., etc. You may have heard of these things. Yeah? But none of these things, the body itself is not mine. Now therefore, when he said, live as if you are a trustee, the first realization you have to have is a realization of death. And just now we were talking about why knowledge doesn't transform. You see, the knowledge of death and the realization of death are two different things. If I ask you, are you going to die? I don't think anyone in this room is going to get up and say, no, I'm not going to die. Every single one of us knows we are going to die. But we know we are going to die. We don't realize that we are going to die. Realization is a further step. It's when this knowledge becomes so deeply part of us that we live it every moment. Now, there are methods by which we can move from the level of knowledge to the level of realization. Methods of contemplation where you require to quieten your mind, think about this in a systematic fashion, and then you can develop a realization of death. If you do develop a realization of death, then you will develop what in the Indian tradition is called aparigraha, which means a mind, a state of mind which is not wanting to hold on to anything, non-possessiveness, non-grasping. This is a wonderful state of mind to have, because then we are not trying to build our identity on things which we have temporarily in this life. We are not trying to build, to use a Christian image now, a house upon sand. You can't build a house upon sand, it will collapse. Therefore, the type of identity we are trying to build for ourselves, based on our knowledge, we've got this degree, that degree, okay, recognition, maybe our parents have left us money, and so on and so forth, we will realize that all this is somewhat futile. But the fact remains is that I am left with, temporarily, even if it's not mine, temporarily I have these things. So what should I do with my knowledge, with my intelligence, with my capacities, with my property? And here Gandhi fell back on another ancient Indian idea, which is the question of what does it mean to be human? The word for human in the Indian tradition is Purusha. The word Purusha implies somebody who has capacity, who's capable. Capable of what? What does it mean to be capable? It's not meaning intelligent. It's not meaning that I can do fantastic things with the computer or any of these kind of things, or that I can run 100 meters in 10 seconds. Yeah? This is not what is meant by capacity when they talk about Purusha. You are truly capable when you can take on the burden of others, when you can take on responsibility for others. That is what makes you human. Otherwise, you may have the physical form of a human being, but you are what is called a Pashu. Pashu in the Indian tradition means an animal. So you may have the form of a human being, but you are not anything better than an animal. Because what do animals do? Animals search for their own pleasure. They want food, they want shelter, they want warmth when it's cold, they want to go into the shade when it's hot. They look for physical pleasure, pleasure of a mate, and so on and so forth. So the animal life plays itself out at that level. Being a human is something fantastic. You have for the first time the potential to be more than that. And in fact, you see, at some level of the other, or most human beings do take on the responsibilities of others. A mother takes on the responsibility for children. A father takes on the responsibility of the whole family, financially at least. Okay. Sometimes for a wider section, not just his immediate family. So wherever the human comes in, there people are taking on the responsibility of others. So when Gandhi said, okay, none of these things belong to you. You have them. You're fortunate. You've been endowed. Not everybody has your intelligence. Not everybody has your property. What are you going to do with it? He said, live as if you were given these things on trust. You're given these things on trust, not to become a grand person, not to develop your own pleasures, but to lift up others, to lift up the community. So use everything you have for the sake of others. Now if you live like this, you will find that many things in your life change. When you are more concerned about others, you find a lot of courage in your life. The more you think only of yourself, the more anxious you become as a person. The more you take on responsibility for looking after the others, the less you care about your own problems, and the more courage you develop as a person. So you'll find yourself, if you live like a trustee, living with much greater courage. You'll find yourself being able to relate to people in a completely different way. So your emotions, which are now very self-centered, self-cherishing, will begin to get transformed more or less spontaneously, automatically. And you will find that the quality of your life changes. Now, when Gandhi put forward this idea first, that was way back in 1905, more than 100 years ago, people laughed at him. They said something like the question I asked in the morning, everyone is so self-centered. Who is going to live like this? Everybody wants to promote themselves. Nobody wants to look after other people. Gandhi's response to that was, see, what do people actually want? He said what people desire, what human beings desire most of all, is affection, love, and respect. Why do they run after money? They run after money because they think money will get them respect. Why do they run after power? They think power will get them friends and respect and maybe even love. But Gandhi said all these methods by which people try to find respect, affection, and love are actually quite wrong-headed. When you have money, people respect you outwardly. Behind your back, they'll make fun of you. If you lose your money, that's it. All the respect goes. Whereas if you actually live this way, using your capacities to help others, you will find that you get genuine affection and respect. Now, I teach children your age in school. And I ask them a question which I'm asking you now. Supposing you're very intelligent and you're the most intelligent boy or girl in your class, and you have a maths test coming up, okay? You want to come first in class. There's a particularly difficult kind of problem which nobody else can solve. You've solved it. Then somebody comes to you before the test and asks you, hey guy, how do you solve this? And you pretend you don't know. Or you say, go to hell. Yeah? There's one possibility. The other possibility is that you share your knowledge. Somebody comes and asks you to help them, you sit down happily and help them. Which of these two people do you think will get more respect, more love, more affection from their fellow students? The answer is obvious, right? It's the person who shares. And therefore Gandhi was saying that, you know, what people are striving for, actually deep down, affection, love, respect, they will get if they live like trustees. And therefore it's not so stupid as you may think it to be. Do I have some more time? Yeah, okay, so this is at the personal level. But Gandhi was also, as you know, somebody who wanted to transform society. So he looked at trusteeship also at the level of society. And he saw trusteeship, according to him, was the only civilizational alternative to both capitalism and communism. He said capitalism is doomed because capitalism encourages you to look after your own interests. And we know what this has done to the world, to the environment, to society, the inequality in society, the poverty, the unemployment, etc. Communism he didn't like because he said it uses violence. And violence begets violence, leads to more and more violence. So he saw trusteeship as the only civilizational alternative. Now I'll briefly explain that, though my time is running out. What did he mean by this? There is a famous case between Henry Ford. You all heard of Henry Ford? Henry Ford was a person who first created a method of mass producing cars in America. And he was a genius, and he wanted to create the mass car so that even poorer people, middle class people, workers could afford it. And he tried various attempts, they failed. He didn't have money of his own. He would take other people's money, use it, lose it. Okay. Finally, the Dodge brothers financed him. And this time he succeeded. He actually found a method of producing cars very cheap. And America began its major transformation. Okay. Cars started rolling out. They made huge profits. Now Ford thought, look, I made this so that this car is affordable to people. We are making so much profit. I'll reduce the price of the car. Also the workers, they are the ones who are actually making the car. I might have thought of it. But they are the ones making the car. Let me pay them higher wages. He was the CEO of the company. So he started paying the workers higher wages. He sold the car at a cheaper price. The Dodge brothers went to court. They said what Ford is doing is against the interests of the company. And the court ruled that the Dodge brothers were right. The court said he cannot do this. He has the main duty of a CEO is to look after the interests of the owners of the company. And for the first time, this became law. Then if you look at the whole legal history of America and other countries, you find more and more it became the duty of companies to look after themselves first and foremost. Now Gandhi said, therefore, the companies that we see today, capitalism as we see today, is a human creation. Law has created this beast. We can have laws which say the opposite. That the duty of a CEO, you know what a CEO is, the head of the company, yeah? Duty of the head of the company is not just towards the owners of the company, but to what are today called stakeholders. That is everyone who is affected by the activities of a company. Okay? And who is affected by the activities of workers, but all the people who are affected environmentally, the consumers and so on. Now Gandhi said if we change the law this way, we can slowly make trusteeship a principle of law governing all institutions of society. So he saw it not only a transformation at the individual level, he saw it as a transformation at the level of entire society. My time is up, so I'll stop now if there are any questions.
I'll assume that you're a Gandhian right now. Whether you're not, yes or no, it's up to you to take it, right? Anyway, that there's nothing that you own, not even your physical body, nor your intellectual property. And you're a trustee, you said. How does that happen? And if not, who are you at this point?
You want to translate the question or should I?
Mare dandadi Gandhi ki tawata tu chedi kangla nganso dachi tabo japen to dachi mato shandachi social wangsha khaya me ba social ki zubo da teni sheba yonte khare ne social chi dawangsa ne meken dende mbachre sinda kongi dende song song la di chedi kangla dachi social ki nangi dachi sheyen da sugi che tabo dende chi mede baina da dila tabo cha de khare re se chi dang deni danda kap dila shisha be kone then che swing is dingikola.
Yeah, that's a question which I sort of sidestepped in my presentation because I'm not a Gandhian, but I think Gandhi has a great deal to contribute to the world today. For Gandhi, you are a trustee because all these things you have are given to you by God. But Gandhi's notion of God is complex. His notion of God is closely linked to his notion of truth, and I didn't want to get into that because that didn't seem relevant to the discussion here. So for him, you become a trustee because God, like in English law, your friend gives you this on trust. Here, you have been given this on trust. So I used another notion. You have these things. What are you going to do with them? And I went back to an Indian notion which Gandhi also uses, the notion of being human. The more you take on the responsibility of others, the more human you become, the greater your capacity. And even if, because I want to make a presentation which is relatively neutral on the question of future lives and so on, I am using this and saying that even if you don't want to talk about karma and future lives, do you want to be a genuine human being? What do you want to do with your lives? You can chase various pleasures and you will find over time that this chase has been largely frustrating and futile. Or you can use it to enhance the world you are born into. That's your choice.
아니 단다 gelagi tiwadillendi ani ta Gandhi khorangi shedi an khala yuslavi bina manzul yebeki ani chika nang ki samlu ki sheba ta shege yonde imbeneri ani chik twingen ina denzu thangma manzul ani sheng ki kyesha gyo soroji mato manzul dawa chi mewanang shincheche ani 메시키 오레스 다와 요마레 시두 참발라 아니 간줄라 kyonye de sure sidu chambala ani Gandhi khoran thewa tv bina ani kunjoki ani tewres lasigres inaya ani Gandhi ki ani thanda kunjo sia di ani khoran ki todan di ani kharda thani o chaigres la bina kunjo sia di demba sia dini ni di koki ani ngochi pato tawdu chingu yores cheta da di thola ani thagio tingsabu to yo sonza di nekap da ani antewa me thoni ani ngi di kola ani shingmes tigana shi ta meze ke na dinde ani susul yewa dinzu sangma ani susu ki mayimba susul mada we thoni ani meze ke wi bina ani dilaya ane pendo cheshu di yodi yores ta kewa chemas ya da ane les ya dineki ane keja shebi imbe na inguchung dineki ane namsha deug mewe imbe na ya dinzu ki keja mashi imbe na ya se dila ane tanjing ki misia diki ane senye shaswas misia di suchag yores labi imbe na ane sheng chedula ane laga che thumyen ki ane nuba yodingi cheju yodingi chigla milagi yordas cheza dila du tsambala ta kira mitse da demba chi chigi inda me se dijibu mishi mewe imbe na se dig nanglo mitse da demba chi chigi yombe imbe na ane sheng chedula ane laga che thumyen sheng ki ane dedu chedula ane thunan che thumyen dindeki nuba yonye chi chegu yo wasonza ane Gandhi ki shewa nangshin ane ta mezi ketan di ane kechin buchak yores la rushles.
De chila no akasa di ane shitu sashu kusaye be ane matsama la ane benjo do ane koi ane shinsu tu ne kanga chi chegi yes ane kanga de ane senta ga da thalo de ane gendi ga da 대자식 또 이렇게 시행노 대자 대자대 가르쳐 와이나 대에 너슈부 유네 롱베 아니 겐데지 따와 통마트 다 지부들이스 너슈부 유네 롱베 겐데지 따와 지부들이스 대이자 안에 다 대자세나 안에 기수수리 안에 따도도 아니 성수진이네 따도 니래도 대이자 대자세 너슈주 유네 롱베 따와세와 대 간디지 니즈 그래스 아니 딘디가 아니 대제운 로또때 아니 시도는 줄류 참마도 등고진도스 이나야 미세가 아니 가서 넘바 소지비 줄류 좀 보시란도스 어때 수인도 대이자 넘바 손지비 줄류 튼선한테 간지래샤스 나 따와 그리고 너수 주는 로비가 나 따와생이 때 간지치 다니 가는 가서 따와 지고 있어야 돼 따와때 간지치 인지 그게래스 대도 안에 넘바 산지비가 가서다 단 로또가
So in your presentation, when you talk about this trustees and trusteeship, you said that this is the first and the only idea that Gandhi borrowed from Western traditions or Western philosophy to some extent, and And then also, if I'm not mistaken, then you also in the presentation you said that the idea of trusteeship or the trustee, the way to live as a trustee, is very much relevant to the Buddhist practice and Buddhist way of thinking. If that is the case, then the idea of trusteeship is also there in the Buddhist traditions. It is not something that is borrowed from the West. So how these two are kind of related or different?
As I said, he took the notion initially from the British or the Western tradition, English common law. Unlike his other ideas of ahimsa, satya, satyagraha, and so on, which have almost nothing to do with the Western tradition. It's one he borrowed from there, but he immediately deepened it. And he deepened it in the light of the Indian tradition. Not just the Buddhist, I would say there's a pan-Indian tradition, which runs common to many streams of Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism. So it resonates with all of them. But it also resonates, funnily enough, with, say, the Christian tradition and the Islamic tradition. So it's a wonderful concept because it resonates with so many different traditions. I could explain, there's no time, how it resonates with Christianity. Okay, so the way he used it, it's a very deeply religious notion, and every tradition can see itself in that, including Buddhism. At the same time, it is a notion which doesn't presuppose a particular religious worldview. It's something which you can talk about at a level relatively independent of religious worldviews. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama is very keen on finding such notions, such concepts which can reach out to a wider audience and to a modern audience. So it's partly because of that I chose this concept.
Tanda trustee says to Jatan di nganzo nyama ani Gandhi ji ki kawan lengyo res labi bana di tawa di any kapti tu su inji ki shungi any team ne lengyo res. Jaza team di nang trustee si du kharsi yor labi bana ani miji ani susu mashiwe ki ngoy ki susu ki junor denzo ani nge ki gyuma pu denzo chembu chacha ki phadula ani yeje yose ki midela chogi inda sia dinde ki ani team ji yores. Kyoe chala cheza ta jose ki midi kharcha de yores labi bena chala dik dabo cha yo mares ina ya pudun zo chembo cha cha badula nyanghe de cha wa sonza an kola trustee sia ta josa di cha dik yores cheza ta josa dik midi ngon te vi bena chala zo korang marwa ina ya koran ne gab ringang dabo di koran cha de yorwa cheza dinde ki team ji yo wa sonza dik samnu di ki che ani ko ki di samnu de tigara ma sha wa che che ani kirang she wa nang shi ani gyaga nang lo yuwe ki ani di kap su angi samnu tang da den zu peju che che ani ting sabru tang yores cheza da dinde ki ting sabru khanis tang yores le sambala ani kirang ani dawe ki ani chala zam mai ba nang ki rikba da ani chik riktop da den zu changma ani kirang da yo ma res kajin la bi bena da wa se du sambala kirang la kha the me ju gu res den zu changma kirang ani mashi be ngon da she be kap su la kha the du res cheza kyo wa nang shi res ya dinde ki me che dan se di ani korang ki di kap su la ani gya ki chulu ki samnu tang da den zu peju che che ting sabdu tang sha yo res dinde ki ani samnu tang da di ani nangchu za mai ba ani gya ka pen industry do kun to gya ki ani ta danda ani ta ko LinkedIn to di wall chabung ki ani chulu samik nanglo yores tiga nang shi tandek chal dusti ve mena ji issue da tiga nang shi ani khaji ku chulu dinzu ku nanglo ya ani de danda ve ki ani samju yo di wa chaza Gandhi ki kharchi yores la ve mena ani inji shung ki ani tim ki nanglo lo yebe ki tim ki rodan chunju ji peju ji di ani ya cheru tangche ani mezi che dan da samlo tang tang thol pa jar ni she sha wa che yores
다 간디 기탄다 누촌 초랑샤 조기다 타와 지고디 탄다 탭자다 부주바 세나지도 다디레스 송송 다테 마임바기 간디 지기다 직 체미 시바기 남세 안로다 망보지 되나요로 데드니 야르기 리존 출렌체네 다 탑란스 페조 당샤와지 레스 테엔데 삼발다 이노지 차샤와 있는 게마다 konta England page in the team color of John Che so take us to Yagali in the Sambala ta chim to Laka Chirachi and Midisambata Sanju in the Jelangi Mamboji Pay in the Sambala Konla da Gandijila Tigis Chig Lotab Roti Mang Kazo champion's and Mangla Mansola and the Kipia 탑란도 소드네 지기 자가가 리쇼는 렌스에서 말 자가 리쇼 존로 지다지 출로이나 나도다 간레지로 콘토고요 네 되게다 삼소도 렌산 로지 지게 응은진서 조조다 딜 센테네 로지 계시야 요르베스 오야 가르소다 지다 코란도 힌두기 출로세 안노데야 남베기 조다 자가 리쇼스도 망보지 레인 거로 Sambala Labar to Jig that Toland to Mamboji Azogita Sanje Nam Sanje Bag Song Shiju Champion to Hajang Dawachim Shuchadi to Manchester Hotel in the Sambala Tenenoji Canero Jumse Canero took the Yoris.
When you talk about this idea of trustee, and when you say that this is the only kind of a concept that he borrowed from the West, and then also you said that the other major kind of his achievements like ahimsa and satyagraha, and these are kind of taken from the Indian philosophical traditions. But Gandhiji went to West and he studied law over there, there's a possibility that he may have learned more things from the West than only this concept. And also when we talk about ahimsa and satyagraha, these are kind of works that is related with the public interest and benefits of the common. Even if you still believe that all these ideas came only from Indian traditions, is there any one particular which has the most influence over our Gandhiji's thoughts, or is there one particular tradition from where normally people believe that he drew inspirations from among the Indian traditions, like Hindu or Buddhism, and even under Hindu there are a lot of different traditions?
I didn't really want to get into a discussion on Gandhi, but if you ask, I think, yeah, he definitely was influenced by Western thinkers, Quakers, and so on. But when I said that the concepts he took, a concept like Satya and so on, the notion of truth, see, in the West, what is truth? Truth is a property of a statement. When I say this table is white or this tablecloth is white, that is a true statement, because the statement corresponds to something outside. So truth is a quality of a statement because it corresponds to the way things are. It corresponds to the being of things. So truth and being are two different concepts in the West. In the Indian tradition, you have one word, Sat, which is being. And you add a suffix to it, Ya, which makes it something like beingness, and you get the word truth. So in the Indian tradition, truth is inextricably linked to the way you are. And Satya was the concept, the idea which influenced him most deeply. And I don't have time, but I can show you how ahimsa flows from this notion of Satya. Okay. So that's why I say his most central concepts he seemed to have taken almost entirely from the Indian tradition. This one of trusteeship resonated with him, and he took it from the West. But it's definitely true that he, people like Tolstoy influenced him, and others and so on. So it's not that, one's not trying to claim that he didn't have Western influences. I just said at the level of concepts, ideas, this was the main one.
The second part of the question is about which Indian tradition. That is what you were asking. So is it Hinduism or?
You see, I personally believe, I discovered the Indian tradition paradoxically when I was in Germany. I didn't know anything about the Indian tradition before that. I was in Germany, I was steeped in Western philosophy. I was studying all the great Western philosophers, and then it will take too long to explain, I discovered the Indian tradition. And I believe the Indian tradition is pan-Indian. When I say pan-Indian, all these traditions, the Buddhist, the Jain, the various different Hindu traditions, come from a common source. And therefore, I don't want to say it's Buddhist or it's Jain or it's Hindu. There are differences. I'm not saying Buddhism is the same as Jain. I'm not mixing them all up. Certainly not. But I'm saying there's a deep source in India. Very, very deep. It goes thousands of years back. Where this search for truth, this search for the ultimate meaning of human existence, what they call Purushartha, has been the most deepest driving force of Indian civilization. It's something which sadly is waning. But hopefully it will revive, because it is what has sustained Indian civilization over the last 5,000 years.